only going to do a sort of 10-minute read from this, which is an anthology of short stories from a number of writers, not just me. And my story is called The Small House on Kudu Road. And I'm just going to read a sort of excerpt, and it's written in the voice of a young boy from Africa, so I've tried to write it in his accent. So here goes. Tell me if I'm not loud enough.
Yeah, okay, speak as loud as you can.
Okay, I'll try to shout.
Try and shout.
It was not until I was 7 years old that Mama and I went to live with my papa in Botswana. Even today, nearly 30 years later, the sight of an overfull suitcase strapped to the hood of a blue and yellow Accra taxi recalls the tingling excitement that filled my stomach as my Mama and I set off for Kutaka Airport. Our first stop was at Johannesburg to board what looked like a slightly larger version of my toy aeroplane to make the trip to Gaborone. I stared with round eyes at the pretend plane, then tugged at Mama's wrapper and whispered, "We're going to be killed." But Mama kissed her teeth and muttered, "Push boy," before dragging me onto the plane and down the aisle to our seats. We landed after a short ride onto a strange and dusty landing strip. It was June, winter time. The Southern Africa chill pinched goosebumps onto my skin and caused me to shiver as we climbed down rickety stairs to the tarmac. Mama must have felt the cold too, because she held me close and said, "Hold your head and feel proud. Only top doctors like your papa can be invited here to help the government." Papa was waiting for us inside the airport. "Hello!" I jumped into his embrace before he could finish greeting us. "My son." He wrapped me in his thick arms, then spun me so that I was flying high above Mama's head. "Let me see how you've grown," he said. I stared into his face to see if he was really my old papa. There were new grey hairs mixed into his sideburns, but he still had the Obroni white man's nose. His eyes sparkled at mine when he set me down. "Welcome to Gaborone," he said, as he patted Mama on the shoulder before turning back to me. "Now you'll see where your papa lives." He gestured towards a man who stood some way behind him. The fair-skinned man removed his woolen hat as he approached us. Holding his right elbow in his left hand, he stretched out his free hand to shake Mama's. "Welcome, Mum. I'm Chepo, your driver." Mama raised an eyebrow at Papa, who explained with a grin, "It's a sign of high respect." Mama and I each pressed our faces against the back window, while Papa went to sit beside Chepo. Gaborone City was quieter than Accra. There were no street arguments or loud music, and Mama didn't complain about impatient fools tooting their car horns. The sky was pale and dusty, like when my nature painting got spoiled in the rain. Mama had warned me about the winter, telling me there would be no sun, but I could see it when I squinted through the window glass, a large copper coin peeping through the faded blue. We rolled on through town, and I imagined the bush that bordered the forest was the bush that bordered the road was a forest of matchstick trees, whose spindly branches crisscrossed each other to draw soft patterns in the sky. Wild grass sat in fat, bleached tufts on the red earth beside flowers that seemed to be showing off their yellow petals and laughing at the parched soil. "Aish!" Mama said as she stared out of the window. "This place is dry, oh. We have to grease our skin with shea butter." We continued to drive down through town, zipping past billboards that shot up from the long pampas grass to form storybooks across the sky. I read out the message on a billboard featuring a man and a woman pointing accusing fingers at each other. "Fight HIV. Time to talk about your small house." Chepo let out a soft chuckle as Papa snapped his head round to face me in the back seat. "You can read that?" He looked shocked. Oh, he reads very well. Mama patted my knee and twisted round to read the message for herself. She said, at least they're trying. We turned off the main road onto a dirt strip surrounded by a mesh of silver birch and jacaranda trees. Papa turned again to beam at me. Kojo, repeat after me. Pudu Hudu Road. Mama chuckled as she watched me purse my lips. Pudu who? Papa's shoulders shook when he laughed. I caught Chepa's smile in the rearview mirror. Well, Papa said, how will you invite your friends to your house if you don't know your own address? When I remembered my friends in Ghana, I turned away from the window and lowered my gaze to my feet. Ah, Mama said, why the long mobber face? You'll make plenty of new friends in Botswana. But what if the boys here don't like me? I asked in a tiny voice. Mama leaned over to pat my back. Don't worry, she said. Everybody will want to play with a nice boy like you, isn't it, Ebo? Of course, yes, Papa replied. Just you wait and see. Chepo stopped the car in front of a white-fenced bungalow and outhouse that crouched low against the border as though they were hiding from the bush. Look carefully, Papa said with a gesture towards the bush, and you might see a deer or a monkey. Chepo tooted and a girl ran from the outhouse to open the gate. As the car passed the girl, Mama asked Papa, is that the maid? Papa jumped out of the front seat, then opened Mama's door for her. I saw his eyes sparkle at the girl before he called out to Mama, even though she was right there in front of him. Rose, come! This is Sifiso. Sifiso held her right elbow in her left hand and went to shake Mama's hand. Good evening, Ma. I watched Mama sweep her eyes over Sifiso, taking in her short, twisted hair, her fair skin, and her aquiline nose. Then she peered down at her blouse and her tight jeans before returning her gaze to Sifiso's face. Are you Botswana or coloured? She asked. Sifiso looked as if the question surprised her. Botswana, Ma. Mama screwed up her nose and turned to Papa without letting go of Sifiso's hand. She doesn't look like her people. How old are you, child? 15, Ma. And where are you from? Papa placed his hands on Mama's shoulders. Madame, or should I say Ma, why don't you wait and settle down before you ask your questions? Mama shrugged Papa's hands away and marched into the house. That night I stuffed my face under my pillow to hide from Mama and Papa's quarrel as it swelled over the dust motes and suitcases in the front room, along the cluttered corridor and into my bedroom. As I lay there inhaling short, almost scented breaths, I imagined Mama in her quilted housecoat, her hair in rollers, a hand at her hip, shouting until her voice was no more than a scratch on the air, while Papa's low boom only made her more angry. I clamped my eyelids together and begged God with a promise to always be a good boy, to make my parents stop shouting. Then I asked him to save me from the rapid pounding inside my chest that would surely kill me without his swift intervention. I repeated my prayers until Mama's shrill resistance subsided into gentle pleading, but I was sure that God had answered my prayers only when I heard Papa's voice as they shuffled past my door to their bedroom. Sifiso doesn't have to come inside, he said. She'll stay in the outhouse and help clean the yard.
And the inspiration for this, where did that come from? Is this actually happened to you? Is it true? Or is it from a family?
No, it's completely made up. I went to Botswana. I've been there twice. It's a very interesting place. There's a lot of paradoxes because it's very beautiful and you have a lot of animals, but it's always been in the shadow of apartheid, and there's 40% HIV there, and the issue of small houses, the sort of title of the book, is a social phenomenon. It's something that the government is trying to stop, people having small houses. So it was at my last visit there that I met a couple of artists, and they were complaining about the #1 ladies detective. They say, it has no bearing on life in Botswana. They really like someone to write something that was a bit more authentic, and that was why I did it.
Oh, that's okay, well, I'd really like to thank you for coming, Emmanuel. I was going to give you a nice cup of tea now, which is well deserved, since you come all the way to